It is now time for Ask the Expert, and why don't you send us in your questions? We're going to be talking with Brenda Hollingsworth of Auger Hollingsworth. You see the information there. You can give us a call, send us an email, ottawa.morning@ctv.ca, and we're on Facebook as well, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. We're talking about teen and inexperienced drivers. So if you got questions for us and for Brenda Hollingsworth, we can relay them straight to her. We're going to get to this topic right now. We've got Brenda Hollingsworth from Auger Hollingsworth. We're talking once again here about teen and inexperienced drivers. Good morning to you, Brenda.
Good morning.
Okay, so Brenda, let's first off here talk about this. So you've got a teen or, a young person or an individual who just recently got their driver's license. So it's a G2 license here in Ontario, correct? That designates them as a new driver?
Right. Well, the very first driver is a G1, but if you have your G1 license, you've got a licensed driver with you. But once you are liberated to drive on your own, it's a G2 license in our graduated system.
What are some of the common mistakes that new drivers, teen drivers, make?
Right. So some of the things that aren't really addressed in driver's ed, or typically when a parent takes a new driver out to practice, tricky things like merging, tricky things like complicated left-hand turns. And you don't have to be driving for very long before you face this kind of issue. And so if you're teaching someone to drive, it's important to think about what are the things that you don't like as a driver. Like if you're someone who does right-hand turns around a big circle to avoid that left-hand turn, you know that. It sounds like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Then you need to think about that as something to make sure that you've taught your teen. Because left-hand turns, I can tell you, the accidents we have with young people, it's merging and it's left-hand turns.
Yeah, that would be the most tricky, especially if you're new to driving. What about insurance for young drivers, for new drivers? You're a family, you've got your insurance, you're the adult, you've got your driver's license and your insurance, but you've got a teen or a new driver now. Maybe you're thinking of adding them to your insurance plan, or they were going to get a new one on their own. How does that work?
Right. So typically, obviously, as soon as you have a new licensed driver in your household, you want to call your car insurance. Typically, if the person has a G1 and they're always going to be driving with a licensed driver, typically that doesn't change your insurance plan. But once you've got a G2 driver, it will change your insurance plan. And I can tell you, as a mom of two just leaving their teens, it adds a lot to your insurance. But it's really important that your insurance company know who the licensed drivers are in your household. So don't let that slip.
Okay.
One of the things that people don't realize is that the liability limits of your own insurance policy, so how much coverage you have under liability, not only provides the amount of money that could be used if someone sues you, but it also backstops you in case you're injured by someone who doesn't have enough insurance. So let me give you an example. Let's say the worst happens. Somebody in your family is in a very serious accident, the worst kind of accident, and requires sort of a life of support. And let's say, $2 million would be the amount that they would need to be supported for the rest of their life. But the driver who hit you only has $1 million in their insurance policy, which many Ontarians have. In that situation, if you have $2 million, your own insurance company will top up that $1 million that the other driver who was at fault for the accident has. So when you've got new drivers, it's a really good idea to make sure that those liability limits are as high as you can afford, not only to protect you against lawsuits, but also to protect your family. That rider on your insurance policy is called the Family Protection Endorsement. everybody has it. Well, most people have it, but most people have it at 1 million. And if you can afford it, you should really get it at 2 million. Typically, the differential isn't that high.
We are continuing our Ask the Expert with Auger Hollingsworth. Phone in with your questions, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. We are talking about teen and inexperienced drivers. All the information that you need to know there. You can send your questions to us and we'll get them to Brenda Hollingsworth. You can send us a message on Facebook, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. Brenda, we're going to continue our conversation here, and I wanted to get to this. We're talking about teen drivers, those who just, they get into their teen years. Some of them take the driver's course, they take the test, they get their driver's license. There are those who are not as young, they're inexperienced drivers. They decided a little bit later on to get their driver's license, maybe in their mid-20s or so, or even into their 30s. They're old enough to get their own insurance. They're old enough to rent a car. Let's get to car rentals, inexperienced drivers. Should they take that full package of insurance that's offered by the insurance company to make sure they're covered?
Right. So that is a tricky question, because really whether or not you need the full rental insurance depends on the policy that you have at home, because some people's auto policies include all the bells and whistles for a rental and some people's don't. And then some people have rental car insurance included with certain credit cards. So it's really important that you know what insurance you have. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that most Ontarians actually don't know what they have. People are surprised that they have the basic accident benefits instead of the upgraded accident benefits. People are surprised they don't have the family protection endorsement. People are surprised about what rental policy they have. So the real message is find out what you have. And the thing about auto insurance is typically the people who answer the phone at auto insurers, unlike a lot of other large businesses, they will tell you exactly what their coverage is. Like if you get them on the phone, they will go through it with you, because they can be liable if they haven't provided the insurance that you need. So you can get pretty good information by phoning your insurance company. It's different than your cell phone company. Like it actually is it's quite good to call an auto insurance and find out what you have.
Okay, they won't give you that runaround where it's like, okay, you got to go to this department, that one
No.
here, wait, hold,
Yeah.
right? Once you get them on the phone.
Good.
Okay, and just continuing on that conversation there, you need to find out what kind of insurance you do have. So let's take an example. What has your experience been like in terms of renting a car with a credit card? You know that you have some coverage. Has it been your experience that it's usually not enough coverage in terms of insurance for inexperienced drivers?
Yeah, so in my family, I had two, I still have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old, but I did have two sort of young drivers not that long ago. And we made sure that we had every possible upgrade. Fortunately, knock on wood, we didn't need it, but we felt that was important. So in your accident benefits, those are the no-fault benefits that protect you even if you caused the accident. We made sure that we had the upgraded medical and rehabilitation coverage, the updated income replacement benefit coverage, and you can do that too. You can also purchase coverage so that the deductible, the Insurance Act has a deductible. You can reduce your deductible. And this insurance you can purchase is typically not very expensive. The difference between a basic package and an upgraded package is typically affordable for most Ontarians. The government made sure of that. They did reduce coverage over the last decade, but they made sure that upgrades were affordable. So really looking at your accident benefits, looking at your liability insurance to make sure that if you can afford it, you have $2 million. I will tell you that my family, we have $5 million. Why take any chances? Another thing to consider is if you have teens, and you own the vehicle and they get in the accident, as the owner of the vehicle, you are responsible for their actions. So even though they were at fault and they caused the accident, if you don't have enough insurance, the person who's injured is coming after your personal assets, even though you were nowhere near the car. So I can tell you, for example, one time, an owner of a car owned two houses, and I took both of them to get enough money to help my client who was catastrophically injured. So if you don't have enough insurance, it's your own assets that are exposed. And so you got teen drivers, consider whether it makes sense to buy them their own car that, you know, they are the owner, and then you aren't responsible if the worst happens. I mean, hopefully it won't. But these are all things to think about when you have a teen driver.
Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation. Ask the expert. Here's Auger Hollingsworth. You got their information right there if you want to reach out to them. info@ottawalawfirm.ca. Their phone number's there, and you can check them out on their website, hinjurylaw.com, and got their address as well. We're going to continue our conversation with Brenda Hollingsworth from Auger Hollingsworth. We're talking about teen and inexperienced drivers. And Brenda, just before the break, I said, let's get to this really important part of the conversation. You've got a new driver, a teen driver, somebody who just got their driver's license, regardless of their age, and they haven't yet been experienced to all the ups and downs of driving. What do you tell a young driver, an inexperienced driver? How do you advise them if they ever get into an accident? What are some of the things they should know?
Right. Well, what we found is that the more junior the driver, the more likely they are to make important mistakes at the accident scene. So what we did actually was created this document. We call it the crash kit. And it's something that's available from our firm for free. And you can put it in your glove compartment and pull it out if you have an accident, and it walks you through the important steps. Stay calm is kind of self-evident. Not apologizing is something that's really important for young people. Often, young people, you're an inexperienced driver, and so you feel badly that you're in an accident, and you sort of accept responsibility, even if it's not your fault or you don't know if it's your fault. We've had, pedestrians seriously injured who apologized to the truck driver who ran over them. Don't do that, right? Just keep calm, keep your thoughts to yourself. It's a serious accident. You want to contact police, and you want to get some key information. If there are witnesses, the number one thing you can do to protect yourself at an accident scene is to get their info. Get them to send you a text on the spot. You will thank yourself later on, because witnesses from the scene of an accident make all of the difference. I can't stress that enough. You've probably got your cell phone. You want to take pictures of where your car is. You want to take pictures of the other car if there is one. You want to take pictures of the damage. And you want to make sure you get the other vehicle's info. Now, one thing I can tell you is that there have been instances where senior drivers might tell a more junior driver that the police don't need to come. And, junior driver might defer to the person with the gray hair, telling them, oh, you don't need the police here. This is minor. So telling your team that it's okay to call the police, that they should call the police if there's an accident and somebody's been even a little bit injured or the damage is serious, giving them the confidence to stand up for themselves is really, really important, and something that I think is missing in driver's ed, to be frank. People feel like, oh, well, if he's telling me not to call the police, I better not. But teaching them to stand up for themselves is really important.
Okay, Brenda, what about this? You're in an accident, and nobody is seriously injured. There is some damage to the car. You're a junior driver and you feel that you should call the police. But the accident is occurring in a very busy area, honking horns. You're starting, the stress of it all is starting to rise. Do you move your car? I mean, what do you do in that instance?
Right. So safety is the number one consideration. So if in order to be safe, you need to move your car, then you move your car,
Okay.
right? If your car is drivable and it's required for safety, you move your car. If there's not much controversy over what happened in the accident, somebody has clearly been rear-ended by someone else, then you move your car. If, this is a tricky judgment call, and even as somebody who's been driving for 40 years, it would be difficult for me too to decide. But if it's going to be controversial about who caused the accident, you have to make a judgment call about whether or not to move the cars. Okay. If you can safely take a picture of the position of the cars, even from inside your own car before moving it, you'll probably thank yourself later on.
Mm-hmm. Safety first is what you're saying. Safety first. Make sure that you yourself, you're safe, and then you can move from there. You can act from there. This has been a really enlightening conversation with you, Brenda. I really want to thank you for that. You've got the note book as well. Will you say that again?
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in this, they can.
There you go. That's good.
Cameras backwards. They can contact our firm. This is free. We have an unlimited number. We'll mail you as many as you like. Often grandparents request it for their grandteens. We'd be happy to send it to you. So just send us an email with your address, and we'll mail you as many as you ask for. ahinjurylaw.com is the website. info@ottawalawfirm.ca is the email address. We've got tons. We're happy to send them.